For as long as there have been celebrities, there has been celebrity gossip. When you sign on to be a celebrity in Hollywood, you also sign an unspoken contract putting you on public display. Magazines like the National Enquirer and shows like TMZ have turned celebrity life into a profitable industry. But that doesn't mean the paparazzi is a recent trend. As it turns out, Americans have been obsessing over celebrity drama for over 100 years. So, today we're airing out all the dirty laundry and breaking the biggest celebrity scandals from every decade since 1900. But before we run you through the rumor mill, why not run over to that subscribe button? Then head down to the comments and tell us what other scandals you want to see in the limelight. For now, let's spill the beans. Evelyn Nesbbit was one of the most in-demand models of the 1900s. As she worked her way up the ranks of stardom, many suitors and admirers started taking notice. One such admirer was architect Stanford White, who lavished money and attention on Nesbbit and her mother, before allegedly drugging and assaulting her. Nesbbit later married railroad and coal baron Harry Kendall Thaw, who ran into White at Madison Square Garden while taking in a performance on June 25, 1906. There, Thaw fatally shot White in a crime so immediately publicized it would be featured in a Thomas Edison Nickelodeon the following week. Trust us, that was a big deal. The sensational trial that followed was dubbed the first ever trial of the century. Nesbbit was forced to share the scandalous story of her assault, while Thaw's lawyers attempted to argue his innocence due to temporary insanity. Thaw would go on to spend several years in an institution before getting divorced by Nesbbit upon his release in 1915. During the 1919 World Series, the Chicago White Sox and the Cincinnati Reds were locked in an 8-game slobber knocker. The Sox had a winning record of 88-52, so they were considered a shoo-in for the championship. However, Chicago's first baseman, Chick Gandil, had different plans for the team when he got into cahoots with gambler Joseph "Sport" Sullivan. For a whopping $100,000, which in 2025's money would just be shy of $2 million, Gandil and several other Sox players would throw the game. However, there were rumors about the Sox planning to take a dive before the series even started, so the fans were quick to begin shouting "Fix!" as loud as they could at any questionable plays. Ultimately, the Reds won the World Series, 5-3. 8 White Sox players were acquitted in a court of law, but every single player involved, including sports legend Shoeless Joe Jackson, was banned from organized baseball forever. In 1916, when silent film superstar Mary Pickford was more famous than ever, she began a years-long secret affair with fellow movie star Douglas Fairbanks. Eventually, Fairbanks' wife found out and filed for divorce. Around that same time, Pickford and Fairbanks formed United Artists, along with D.W. Griffith and Charlie Chaplin. And Pickford would end her own marriage shortly thereafter in 1920. Before even a month had passed, Pickford and Fairbanks were married. However, instead of a public outcry over infidelity, the adoring public was actually pretty jazzed about the whole thing. Fans were known to mob what Photoplay magazine referred to as filmdom's greatest real-life romance. After reading how these kinds of gossip columns were able to spin the scandal into a fairy tale romance. Silent film actress and eventual talkie darling Mary Aster married her doctor Franklin Thorpe in 1931. However, the marriage was not perfect, and in 1933, Aster went to New York and engaged in a whirlwind affair with playwright George S. Kaufman, documenting it all in her diary. 2 years later, Dr. Thorpe filed for divorce, and by the time the subject of custody of their daughter arrived in court, Dr. Thorpe had gotten his hands on Aster's diary, the sordid details of which were leaked to the press before the hearings began. With Dr. Thorpe providing the tea, and oftentimes inventing stories himself, Aster feared the end of her career. But thanks to Thorpe's manipulation of the diary entries, the judge ruled that they could not be used as evidence. Aster was awarded custody of her daughter during school months, and the diary was burned in 1952, allegedly. In 1941, Charlie Chaplin began a love affair with actress Joan Barry, while he was still married to his third wife, Paulette Goddard. The affair lasted for 2 years, resulting in Berry having a baby on October 2, 1943, and she named the most famous actor of the early 20th century as her baby daddy, a claim which Chaplin vehemently denied. By the time the trial rolled around in 1944, Chaplin was divorced and remarried to 18-year-old Una O'Neill. Despite blood tests proving that Chaplin was not the father, he was taken back to court when the blood tests were ordered inadmissible. Berry won, and Chaplin was ordered to pay child support after losing an appeal. The U.S. public turned on Chaplin and essentially locked the door behind him when he traveled to London for the premiere of Limelight. Chaplin's unfortunate outcome did help change U.S. paternity laws, allowing several states to rule that blood tests could not be ignored. Ingrid Bergman had established herself as a Hollywood star by 1949, but was left feeling dissatisfied with constraints of American filmmaking. So she wrote a letter to Italian director Roberto Rossellini, offering her acting services to whatever projects he thought she might fit. But the two started making more than films together, if you catch our drift. Even though both were married, they began an affair that resulted in Bergman's pregnancy. This blew the doors wide open on their infidelity, and the two divorced their spouses and tied the knot. The scandal was immediate. Many cities refused to screen Bergman's movies. She was banned from The Ed Sullivan Show and was even protested by religious groups. The couple was forever hounded by paparazzi as they continued to make movies together in Italy. However, after returning to Hollywood to make Anastasia and eventually divorcing Rossellini in 1957, the public began to forgive Bergman. Elizabeth Taylor and Debbie Reynolds were Hollywood besties during the 1950s, while under contract at MGM. Together with their respective husbands, Mike Todd and Eddie Fisher, the group would gallivant around town enjoying each other's company until Todd's tragic plane crash in 1958. Taylor was grief-stricken over her husband's death and sought comfort from her buddy Fisher, which eventually became a bit too comfortable. Tabloids were soon reporting headlines about Taylor and Fisher's affair, leading to the latter divorcing Reynolds and leaving their 2 children behind to run off with Taylor. Reynolds couldn't even be mad, stating, "If your husband's going to leave you for anyone, it might as well be Elizabeth Taylor." Throughout the golden age of Hollywood, movie studios and fans alike viewed Joan Crawford as one of the most beloved movie stars of all time. But that's the thing about actors. They're good at presentation. The grim alleged reality came about in 1978 when Crawford's adopted daughter, Christina, published a tell-all memoir called Mommy Dearest, which detailed her mother's physical and emotional abuse happening behind the scenes of her career. Christina published the memoir 1 year after her mother's death, and although several family members pushed back against the claims on Crawford's behalf, the book spent 42 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list and was given the Hollywood treatment in 1981, effectively killing Crawford's reputation. While attending the Democratic National Convention in Alabama in 1988, Brat Pack actor and perpetual handsome guy Rob Lowe filmed a private video with 2 young women he'd met at a club that evening. Allegedly, Lowe went to use the bathroom, and when he came back, the women and the tape were gone. 1 year later, Lowe found himself involved in one of the first ever celebrity sex tape scandals when the footage was leaked to the media. Making matters worse, it was revealed that one of the young women in the video was only 16 at the time. The legal age of consent in Alabama was 14 in 1988, which, for reference, is the year Die Hard came out. But her age made the video illegal no matter what state you're in. The case was settled, and Lowe was handed 20 hours of community service. His career took a hit, and he all but vanished from the public eye before slowly making a comeback in the 90s. 6-year-old Soon-Yi Previn was adopted by actress Mia Farrow and her husband, musician Andre Previn, in 1977. Eventually, Farrow divorced Previn and began dating comedy icon Woody Allen in 1981, when Soon-Yi was 10. Over the next decade, Allen was publicly a father to Soon-Yi, taking her to New York Knicks games. Then, in 1991, Farrow discovered lewd photographs of Soon-Yi in Allen's apartment. He admitted that their relationship had become romantic, but insisted it hadn't happened until Soon-Yi was 21. Farrow ended the relationship, and Allen and Soon-Yi married on December 23, 1997. His film career withstood the scandal for several more years, but the scandal resurfaced in recent years, torpedoing Allen's film career seemingly for good. Jennifer Aniston was winning hearts as America's sweetheart and hairstyle influence throughout the 1990s. At that same time, Brad Pitt was considered Hollywood's hunkiest man, making their relationship one of the best-looking and most talked about of the new millennium. The unfairly attractive couple was wed in 2000 and skyrocketed to celebrity royalty to the point where you couldn't page through any magazine without seeing their faces. In 2004, Pitt nabbed the starring role in Mr. and Mrs. Smith alongside Angela Jolie and, despite circulating rumors in the tabloids, claimed they had no kind of romantic dealings. It was strictly professional. Those rumors only got worse as Aniston and Pitt filed for divorce in 2005, allegedly unrelated to any infidelity. But not long after, Pitt and Jolie were photographed vacationing together in Africa, and everyone kind of made the connection. Fans of all three actors found themselves unwillingly taking sides in the Brangelina drama that dominated tabloid headlines, escalating in 2006 when Jolie announced she was pregnant with Pitt's child. Pitt became the adoptive father to several of Jolie's children, but the couple refused to get married until, quote, everyone else in the country who wants to be married is legally able. They finally tied the knot in 2014, only to divorce 2 years later. Action icon Arnold Schwarzenegger admitted he had a bad habit of keeping things from his wife, writer Maria Shriver, using his decision to run for governor of California and heart surgery as two prime examples. But perhaps the worst case of neglecting to run something by his wife was the time he fathered a child with another woman. The child was born from an affair Schwarzenegger had with Mildred Patricia Baena, his former housekeeper. She was employed by the family for over 20 years and became pregnant with Schwarzenegger's child some 14 years prior, while Shriver was pregnant with another of his children. In fact, the two babies were born 1 week apart. Schwarzenegger himself didn't notice until Baena's son Joseph was 7 and began to show some governator family resemblance. Though the two never discussed his paternity, Schwarzenegger did give a bit of extra money in her paycheck. He wouldn't fully admit to the affair until Shriver confronted him during a therapy session, and the couple divorced immediately after, with the affair going public and all but terminating Schwarzenegger's nice guy image for the next several years. Hasta la vista. So what do you think? Which of these scandals was the most scandalous? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from our weird history.